Hi, I'm Zibby Owens, and you're listening to the award-winning podcast, Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books. If you like this podcast, you will love my new anthology called Moms Don't Have Time to Have Kids. Check it out, and you'll hear from 49 authors about all sorts of things moms don't have time to do. All the authors have been on this podcast. Also, check out my TikTok with Zibby and Tracy, my other podcast, Sex Talk with Zibby and Tracy. Check out Moms Don't Have Time to Write on Medium. And of course, my new publishing company called Zibby Books. And now back to our daily author interview site and a quick hello from some of my kids. Hi. Hi. Hello. Enjoy the show. If you like this podcast, you will love my new anthology called Moms Don't Have Time to Have Kids. Here's a little snippet by one of the authors from the anthology.
My name is Susie Orman-Schnall, and I'm thrilled to have contributed my essay, The S Word, to Moms Don't Have Time to Have Kids. And what I really don't have time for is to read all of the amazing books on Zibby's podcast.
Keele Burgin is the author of Wholly Unraveled. She is an entrepreneur, activist, international bestselling author, and filmmaker. Her story of survival and self-discovery has inspired a life dedicated to making a profound impact on people across the globe through business, education, and storytelling. She believes when a person finds their voice and shares their story, they can change the world around them. From the extreme isolation of her childhood growing up in a Catholic cult, Keele has built a global human connection across disciplines. Her business acumen includes co-founding an international strategic marketing company traded on the public market to being instrumental in selling her analytics company to a Fortune 100. While making her mark in business, she maintained a determination to turn her trauma into medicine. This led her to serve in leadership roles on the boards of multiple international nonprofit organizations, including Friendship Bridge and Maya Impact, that empower women through microfinance, vocal empowerment, and social collateral. Committed to understanding the inner workings of strong women, Keele set out on a journey producing a movie with Dr. Jane Goodall. Dubbed by Jane as, quote, the real story keeper, she spent 2 years traveling with Jane, sitting with the chimpanzees in Gombe, and conducting exclusive interviews with Jane, her son, grandchildren, and those close to her for an unprecedented look into Jane's life. Her work has been acquired by the Walt Disney Company and will be the first narrative feature film about Dr. Goodall. Keele's best-selling memoir, Wholly Unraveled, delivers a gripping portrait of a resilient young woman who turned her deep shame into awe-inspiring dignity and grace. She is currently in development with anonymous content to bring Wholly Unraveled to the screen. Her passion to bring women together led her to found Be Tribes and help them ignite their inner compass and make profound transformations in their lives through curated tribes, curriculum, and coaching. Be Tribes is meant for women who want to be the heroine of their own journey. Keele is a gifted speaker with a message of hope, resilience, and the power of storytelling that has been shared on national stages and magazines, NPR tours, podcasts, university lecture circuits, and webinars. And now that I've read her bio, I realize I completely forgot to ask her about this whole movie with Jane Goodall, so you'll have to go for information about that somewhere else. But there'll be lots more to talk about, so listen anyway. Welcome, Keele. Thank you so much for coming on Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books to discuss Wholly Unraveled and everything else.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me. I love your pup in the background.
Thank you. Yes, she's shaking herself around and, wants to be a part of this. Thank you.
Like a good dog should.
Like a good dog should, yes. Okay, would you mind telling listeners about your memoir, why you even decided to write this memoir, and the crux of it, and why it's become this best-selling book that everybody needs to read?
Yeah. Well, I can tell you the process was difficult. Just even deciding to put your own story in the world is one decision. And then to put in all of the family secrets that you really aren't supposed to share into the world, at least that's what I was taught. It was a long journey. And I really appreciated my agent, who's in LA, said, after she read it, she said, I want you to go away for 6 months and think about if you're ready to put this in the world or not. And I really appreciated that question, because my immediate was, well, of course I am. Let's go. And instead it gave me a lot of time to just think and say, what could the repercussions be? And at the end of the day, I realized that, I've been traveling the world helping other women tell their story. I worked in Guatemala, Vietnam, Cambodia, all over. And watching a woman tell her story is just this beautiful opening of her heart and her soul and her mind and just the amalgamation of all of that. And I realized at the end of the day that I can't ask other women to tell their story if I'm not going to tell my own. And so that was the reason I decided to tell it, because I want everyone, man, woman, child, I want them to feel free to tell their story. And especially the ones the stories they don't want to say out loud. Those are the ones that are, for me, those are the ones that unlocked me, that released the shame and the guilt and the fear and made me realize we're all really humans and we can help each other through our story. So that's how Wholly Unraveled came to be. It took me 7 years to write, but when I went back and counted the days, that's how I saved the document over time. It was really only 89 days.
Oh, that's interesting.
And so, yeah, so the writing process I allowed it to be what it wanted to be and take the pieces that I could write that day and write those and not force myself into anything, which was great.
So when you were debating at whether or not you felt ready to put this out into the world, what parts of it were holding you up the most? Like which parts did it take the longest to sort of come to terms with and decide to include? And did you end up taking others out?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think as a child, you grow up and you think whatever you're growing up in is normal. Or I did. Like, this must be the way people are. But it isn't the way. We all have such a unique upbringing, right? I mean, not all. And some people say, oh gosh, I grew up and I had a great childhood. I had great parents and I celebrate them. But there's going to be some along the way that makes you who you are, whether it's a capital T trauma, a small T trauma, an emotional something, you hated high school, whatever it is. And so I would say the hardest part for me was definitely writing my childhood, to go back and visit. My dad was a leader in a Catholic cult, and that to just go back and visit that and see how women were really repressed and still are in a lot of ways, that was really difficult to go see. But it was also a beautiful journey to say, it really did make me who I am. I really wouldn't be the woman I am today and doing the work I do today if I hadn't been through a lot of the things I went through, which was, your voice doesn't matter. You don't matter. Women should just get married and have babies. That's it. And I got married and had babies. So I love that part too. But I wanted to bring other women into that fold and support them in whatever they wanted to do.
Well, the scene with your dad when you were sort of hiding from him and having to choose the stick and the bleeding that was so intense. I'm like, for a child to go through, just as one minor example, right? But just even that terror, having someone you trust turn against you in that way, right? The place you're supposed to be the safest suddenly becomes the least safe. I mean, it's a lot to navigate life like before and after that moment. I mean, I'm putting this, I'm putting words in your mouth here. I would imagine, or whatever, from what you've read.
Right. I think the hardest thing really to be is just if you grow up and your mom and your dad don't nurture you and love you and care for you and make sure you're okay and in the world, then why should anybody else care? Mm-hmm. Right? So the worthiness piece was probably the hardest one for me to finally get to. And it took me decades to say, I am worthy. I am worthy. And I had to say it over and over. It's in my essence statement. It's in the book. But I had to come up with, who am I? And then move into those words slowly but surely about the positive side of who I am. But I'm so happy I'm there. And that if I could give any gift in the world, it would be to let everyone know their worth and to have hope for it. No matter what you've been through, whether it's happy, sad, miserable, tragic, there is hope on the other side for a really happy life.
And so what got you to that realization?
Being alone, I would have to say. It's in the book. The book is broken out in 3 segments. The first is my childhood, as we talked about, kind of crazy and charismatic renewal and Catholic stuff and abuse. And then the middle part was me trying to escape all of that. So I left my family. I moved and I was on my own and all of that. But it's like I was chasing adrenaline to try to make sense of it all. Like there was no person to put a boundary on me anymore. So I was just kept escalating until I was really making very, very poor decisions and breaking into drug dealers' houses, bad decisions. I woke up and thought, I might not live. Like I have to make a decision. Do I want to live? And I didn't want to die, but I didn't know how to live. And so I was in this juxtaposition of life and death kind of thing. And it's funny to think back because I just hitchhiked to Canada And I didn't have much money. I didn't have many belongings, but I remember that there was a priest there that I trusted. And I thought he was there. He wasn't there when I got there, but I did end up seeing him again. But I went to this, it's called a lay apostolate community, a Catholic community in Canada, where I lived in silence with 150 other people. We spoke during meals and things like that. But I think it was that, again, that juxtaposition of Catholicism on one side, which was, my dad trying to be God, really. And there was Catholicism on this side in a lay apostolate community of just love. They just loved me. I showed up on their doorstep and they took me in, and I worked. I sheared sheep and killed chickens and milked cows and, picked strawberries for days on end and washed handkerchiefs, like it's in the book. But we all helped each other to live. So while I was cooking a meal, someone else was cutting down wood, someone else was milking a cow so we could have milk. It was just this beautiful synergy of life. And that taught me love. It taught me that we can care for each other in the smallest of ways. One of their mantras is do little things exceedingly well. And I loved that, because I might be cleaning someone's handkerchief, but I'm going to do it really well. I'm going to do it with love. And I think that's what healed me, the silence, to go deep inside myself to figure out who I was and that I was lovable. And then these people surrounding me with that same love, that same acceptance.
Wow. I know you wrote about your journey so beautifully. I mean, it's not easy, right? I mean, some of the paths are just so you wouldn't expect necessarily. I was even telling my kids this morning when I was talking about the books I was covering, and because I like to, keep them in the loop about books, also to show them that like books are not just like boring black and white things. Like you open them up and you crack open someone's story and you're like, anyway, I was discussing this whole silence retreat situation and they were like, what? She did, how did she do that? I'm like, I know, it's amazing. So yeah.
She doesn't know how she did it either.
I know.
I mean, a year was a long time. I thought maybe I'd last, a week or so, but to be there, it was over a year, and it was a thing for sure to be quiet that long.
Wow.
Yeah. And to live in community, I think that part too, 150 people. It's not like we all had our own room. It was one dorm for all the women. So it was challenging.
Wow.
But I loved it.
And then what has it been like as a parent, getting the opportunity to sort of rewrite history with your own kids?
That's a beautiful question. Thank you. I have 3 boys, and I know that they know they are unconditionally loved. They're so loved, and they are allowed to make mistakes. They are allowed to have their opinions. They're allowed to disagree with me respectfully. They're amazing boys. And I think that's what can come out of a lot of trauma sometimes, is this beautiful, I have 3 beautiful gifts to give the world, and I watch them. Now I have 21-year-old and 2 15-year-olds, and I watch them move in the world in such a safe manner. Like they're safe. They know they're safe in the world. They know they're loved. They know that they can ask for what they need. So that's been, obviously they're my 3 greatest gifts, and probably my book being my 4th, not to mention my boyfriend and my puppy and all of that. But it's just birthing that story gave me so much of myself back.
And how did they feel about the book?
Well, they're not allowed to read it until they're 18.
Okay.
And my 18, there's just a lot in there that I don't think any son wants to hear their mom went through until they have a certain level of maturity. My 21-year-old decided not to read it at 18. He started to read it last year and said, I can't read it. I'm too mad at your dad. So no one's read it yet.
Wow. But
I have one son who said, I can't wait to turn 18. I'm like, okay. So I got 3 years.
Wow. I'm impressed by your ability to enforce that rule. I feel like I can't enforce any rules anymore. I mean, I shouldn't admit that. That makes me sound like a bad mom, but I'm just like, any rule I can enforce feels like such a major victory, Like,
yeah, right.
Oh my gosh.
That's awesome.
Wow. Wait, so tell me then about Bee Tribes, because that's like so fascinating too, that you started this whole other area. So tell me about that.
Oh, my dream for the rest of my life is to write and to run Bee, my company. I love it so much, Zibby. So it came out of all of this work I've done with women around the world, and I've kind of put it together. And it's all about vocal empowerment. It's about transformation. It's about igniting whoever you are on the inside, bring it to the world. it's about making a profound impact. And what do you want your impact to be? Do you want it to be raising your kids? Do you want it to be a business? Do you want it to, whatever you want to be? That's why I named it Be. Be in that moment even. You can be happy, sad, mad, pissed off, angry, passionate, wherever you are, be there. And you will have a group of women surrounding you to hold you in that, whatever that is for you. So we put together small tribes of women, like about 12 to a tribe, and we kick off a 6-month curriculum together. And it is the most transformative thing I've ever been a part of, to watch these women for 6 months hold each other, support each other, both professionally and personally. And, one of the major tenets is that we're all the teacher inside and we're all a student inside. And it just depends on the topic, right? So if you put that many women together, 12 or so, there's such wisdom, that collective wisdom that happens. And then when you put kind of the sacred circle around it to say, we've got each other and we're not going to share what you share. We're only going to hold you gently accountable to be the best woman you can be. So we do that over and over again. And we kick it off in Mexico, which isn't terrible. We get an amazing beach trip out of it. And 4 days in Mexico. And then we start our 6-month curriculum, doing a lot together. And we meet on Zoom every other week because the women are all over the country. And then we come together at the end of 6 months for another retreat up in the Rocky Mountains where we just celebrate each other. So it's a beautiful, I just feel blessed I get to watch these women grow and change and trust and become who they are really meant to be. It's fantastic.
How do you pick the women?
Well, right now it's been going for 4 years. I stopped during COVID, obviously. We went online for a little while, but they really come from Wholly Unraveled. They come from word of mouth from the other Bee people. Really, that's all it's been right now. I'm really in a process of solidifying, like the curriculum is now really solidified. My pivot during the pandemic was to make sure that we are exactly who we say we are, and we are. And the curriculum supports that. So now we're going to start expanding. We'll be doing a lot more tribes moving forward. We're going to do 4 next year. And I want to hold on to this as long as I can and in the closeness of it before, because it could go big fast. And I want it to be really just all ours for a little while, this team of women and myself. So yeah, it's been really great. We're kicking off one at the end of September. And then we have another one kicking off in January and then subsequent. So I'm really excited. And I can't wait to go to Mexico.
Where are you going in Mexico?
I rent a whole place, Riviera Maya.
Oh, yeah.
So we have this big 16-bedroom home. It's very insular because I want the women to feel as safe as possible as I tell them we're going to spoil you rotten and crack your heart open at the same time. So
wow,
it's great.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I wish I had time to do something like that. That sounds amazing.
Wow.
It really does. If people listening want to be in one of your tribes, how do they sign up or where do they get more information and all that?
Yeah, please come to keeleburgin.com. It's Keele, and the Burgin is BURGIN.com. And you will see Bee Tribes right on there. And my creator of opportunities is awaiting to hear from you. And then I'd love to chat with them as well.
Amazing.
Yeah. Everyone that works at Bee has been through Bee, which is really cool too. They've all been through the process and have changed themselves. And now they want to give back. And so it's a beautiful circle.
So do you obviously have like Bee alumni stuff? Yeah.
Yes, a lot.
That's great. How wonderful to like not only record and share your experience in the book, but really turn it all into something that helps other people. I mean, that is, you could have continued down these other paths so easily, right? Or just not even been here. I mean, there are all these times, it's such a blessing. I mean, it sounds ridiculously hokey. I'm sorry, but it is like what you're doing and then to connect other people and all of that. I just interviewed right before you, and I don't know where in the schedule everything will come out. But I did just interview this other author who wrote a book about how to be sad. And part of the blessing of sadness and trauma is an increased ability for human connection. And I feel like this is like case in point, right? This should be like, because people who have gone through stuff, there's this need to band together, and you're literally doing that with your business model. I mean, that's like what you're doing. So it's great.
Yeah. And it's amazing women. I mean, it doesn't have to be someone who went through trauma either. It can be someone who just wants to be happy.
Yeah. Who doesn't want to be happy? You know?
Yeah, right. I interviewed her for a position on this Bee Tribe, and I said, what is it? You know, what's the thing? And she's like, she's got a great career. She's chief marketing officer, publicly traded company. You know, she's like, I just want to learn how to be. Mm-hmm. I just want to be. I want to be happy, you know, and just be able to be wherever I am. So it's like, it's all walks of life, which makes it even more special. And I feel blessed just to be able to watch it and see the partnerships and see how people's lives change, and to see what could have been really, really awful life for me to be so happy. I just feel so grateful. And I just want people to hear that there's so much hope through trauma, you know.
That's amazing. So what are your future writing plans? Do you have any? Are you going to do more books? Yeah.
So I really need to get on my second book. After I launch this next tribe, I keep telling myself, I don't know, any motivational tips that you have?
Yeah. I mean, everybody else would say, just do it, you know, but I don't know. Motivational tips. Well, you keep talking and I'll think if I have tips.
Well, I just need to get to doing it. I need to remember that it was really 89 days. I just had to sit down and do it. It's just, there's so much I want to do in the world, but writing is so close to my heart. Some of my favorite days of my life were staring out the window of my writing studio and being able to have that freedom to just write. And so I won't really pick up where I left off. I had the outline of chapters. It's going to be more about what I really want to talk about is the things that people don't want to say out loud. I want to talk about what it feels like to be cheated on. I want to talk about what it feels like to lose a child. I want to talk about what it feels like the hard subjects that I believe can really bring us together is where I want to spend my time and my energy. And so I want to write about things that have happened to me that have most likely happened to others, and have that dialogue and have that conversation and talk about how I got through it, and hopefully they can help them get through it.
Well, this is going to sound like overly simplistic, but it seems like most books and most people's desire to reveal secrets is the major sort of propulsive force in narrative, right? Somehow working through something they're ashamed of, something that they hadn't told before, and then the flip side of that is making sure it's seen, right? So like I just interviewed, I don't usually talk about other interviews, but I have an interview yesterday, this man, Jesse Thistle, who wrote From the Ashes, which is this beautiful Canadian memoir, which you should totally pick up and read because he's overcome. The two of you should really meet. If you want me to, I'll connect you. But anyway, his whole thing, and he's from an indigenous people, is that, you know, for collective trauma, it has to be witnessed for it to be overcome in some way.
Absolutely.
And I just feel like that's like, for everyone who keeps the secrets, you cannot heal until you share it and have it be like seen and tended to move on. Yes. So anyway,
I see you and I hear you, right? I see you, I hear you. And people need to hear that. I work with the Mayan culture in Guatemala, so I really understand that. And like you said, who doesn't love the hero's journey?
Yeah.
Right? Just say there was this call to adventure. Am I going to take it or not take it? And my call to adventure was to write this book. Yeah. And it changed my whole life. I mean, my whole life. It changed my marriage. It changed where I lived. It changed my work. It changed so much. And to sit in gratitude for that and to offer that to others as a gift, hopefully that they pick up and run with. Yeah.
Wow. I think that might just be the real use of literature, in addition to, you know, intellectual stimulation and teaching. And, you know, I just, or at least for memoir and some narrative fiction. And I don't know. I think that's why as a culture, it's so important, because without
it, we don't talk about it. Yeah. The trauma, the worst trauma would be if we didn't talk about it.
Right.
Right. Yeah. So saying it out loud. Yeah.
Anyway, this is not, you know, these are, you know, very deep thoughts this morning, but, you know, I do think that, anyway, people talk about why is reading important and all this stuff, but you're witnessing people's pain and that makes them able to live. And there's like nothing more important than that.
Yeah. Turning it to medicine, right?
Yeah.
If you can take your own things and give it to someone else's medicine.
Yeah.
Like, I got through this, you can do it too. I've had thousands of people reach out and say, that happened to me and I hadn't been able to tell my mom, or that happened to me and I finally said it out loud. And, I always tell people, make sure you have the support when you say it out loud too. I don't want you to just scream it out loud and then not have that support when it's over, when you go home. But you can always, find those people that you can say all those things out loud and say them in the time that you're ready, in the time to heal. For me, it was, I did a lot of EMDR therapy, and that's what allowed me to really be healed. I mean, I don't have, there's always going to be scars from childhood, but they're not prevalent in my life at all.
I really want to explore this EMDR therapy. I've heard so much good stuff about it recently from like trauma experts and grief counselors, and it's like keeps coming up. I feel like it's the only therapy I haven't tried. So I might as well add it to the list, Anyway.
It's life-giving for sure. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Keele. This has been awesome. Really inspiring, truly. And oh my gosh, the idea of these women in Mexico and all of you guys sharing stuff in this house. Oh, that's so nice. You should film it. It should be a show. Honestly, you should should make it a show.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah. If I could make everyone feel safe on the camera, I would do that. But some of when we go deep, I don't think they want it on film, but you never know. That might be a good idea.
Right.
Wholly Unraveled's in development to go to the screen.
Is it? That's so great.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Wait, tell me about that. What else can you share?
I don't know yet if it's going to be TV series or if it's going to be movie, but I'm working with the people that brought Eat, Pray, Love to the screen.
Wow.
And who brought, so it's really, really exciting. I'm thrilled about it.
Oh my gosh.
So we'll see. To be continued.
Amazing.
Stay tuned.
Well, it was so great to connect today. Thank you so much. And I'll be following your journey. So cool.
Yeah. I'll follow yours as well.
Okay.
Congratulations with all your success.
Thank you.
Yeah. It was great to meet you.
You too. Take care.
We'll do it again.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks for listening to this episode of Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Zibby Owens and at Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books. Also sign up for my newsletter at zibbyowens.com and sign up for my virtual book club and meet lots of authors on Zoom every other week. Thanks so much to Steve and Ryan at Texture Sound for the sound editing. And thank you to Morning Moon Productions for providing this fantastic intro and outro music.